So Papyrus Prevention of Young Suicide is a national charity dedicated to prevention of young suicide. We run a helpline called HOPELINEUK, UK, which offers support to those under 35 struggling with thoughts of suicide, those concerned about a young person, and those that need a debrief around suicide. It is a free and confidential service, so if you do need support, please call us, text or email us. You can find our website on www.papyrus-uk.org. Today we're talking about money, and that's why we've got Anna on. The reason why we're talking more about money is because on Hopeline UK, we do hear quite a few people having kind of anxiety around money. Recently, we've had quite a few calls of people that are a bit worried about receiving bills or not having enough funds and kind of being in debt. So I think this is a really good time to have this conversation. So thank you so much for joining us. I don't know if you just want to kind of introduce yourself and let people know who you are.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Anna. I am a money educator, certified financial literacy instructor. So I teach about money and I try and help people get more confident in their money, feel more on top of things, reduce their money stress and worries. And I really is a kind of because we didn't really get taught about money growing up. There's not a lot. We still struggle to talk about money in our society. We find it awkward. We find it sometimes it can just be we just get a bit embarrassed or feel shame around talking about money. So one of the things I want to do is just help people have those conversations, find the info they need to feel much more in control of their money, feel confident, and feel like they can make steps forward. So that's kind of what I do, and I absolutely love Papyrus because I think they are doing fantastic work for young people. I think they are really on the right, hitting the nail on the head when they are, you, Rachel, and your colleagues are helping people to talk about money and bringing money into the conversation. I think it's a really important thing that we often stress about in silence, and we don't know how to talk about. We don't know how to start. So, I'm looking forward to today's conversation because we can open that conversation up. And if you're joining live, say hi to us in the chat because we'd love to say hello to you. And if you have any questions, please just pop them in the chat because we'd love to talk to you, with you, as well as me and Rachel having a chat to each other.
Definitely, yeah, I'll try and keep an eye out for questions, but if you could as well, that would be amazing. So yeah, no, it's great to have you on this live. Kind of from my personal point of view, I'm still quite young. I'm in my 20s. So like money for me isn't always talked about, and it is obviously an issue for me. Sometimes like I've got a lot of bills that I was never really used to. So it's kind of great to have this conversation with you. When I first kind of entered into the adult kind of world, money for me was extremely daunting. I had never paid bills before. I didn't know kind of what council tax was. So it can be quite scary for young people to just even start thinking about finance. So one of my questions for you was, what 3 things would you kind of tell somebody to get kind of sorted with their finances today? Obviously, just start them on that journey to think about their finances.
Oh, that's a great question. 3 things to get started on your money journey, sort of as a young person. So you're saying sort of like 20s, that sort of age, or coming out of your education, that kind of time?
Yeah, just kind of maybe renting your first house or moving away from home, or even just received your first paycheck and you're not quite sure what to do with it.
Oh, it's great. I love it. So I think I'd say a few things. I would say firstly, don't underestimate the importance of investing in yourself and your knowledge and taking time for that. We don't talk about that much. Often we try and jump into the details and it's like paying the bills, get it sorted, like detail. But money isn't just numbers. It's not just spreadsheets. It's emotional. It's about your goals and what you want to get out of life and whether or not you can go for a drink with your friend at the weekend because you've got the money to do it. So one of the things that's really important to do is just make sure you give yourself time to understand this stuff that you probably didn't learn at school. So I would say just reading some books, getting your heads in some podcasts, follow some creators on here. There's loads of really great money creators on TikTok, on YouTube, loads of different people. If you don't like the sound of my voice, that's fine. There's others that do a really good job of explaining this stuff, and they do it in a really fun and interesting way. So I would say get like invest in yourself. You can increase your earning potential doing that. You can do all kinds of cool things. I would say set up yourself actually, do you know what? I think one of the best things to do is to get some sort of system for looking at what's going out, what's coming in, and making sure you just know those numbers. So that's something I talk about a lot, is knowing your numbers. And it's about knowing exactly what your expenses are each month, knowing exactly what's coming in after tax and everything's deducted, so you know exactly what's coming into your bank account. And then you can figure out from there what you've got to play with, like what your fun money is, essentially. So getting your numbers down. So that's 2. I've got 2 so far. I need 1 more. So we've talked about investing in yourself. We've talked about knowing your numbers. And then I would say probably get yourself a account with pots so you can split up that money. So one of the worst things ever is when you have all your money in one account and you just feel loaded. You know, when you get like paid and that income comes in, it drops into your bank account. You're like, yes, this is amazing. I've got so much money. And then 2 weeks into the month, you're like, oh no, it's literally gone. Like, where did that all go? So I think splitting up your money into different pots, into different categories, getting yourself an account that does that for you, you can even automate it, just makes your life a heck of a lot easier. 3 things. There you go.
No, they're amazing. Thank you. And especially that last one kind of resonates with me, because one of the first things that I found that really helped was kind of splitting my bank accounts into, this is bill money.
Yeah.
This is, I do have a fun account, fun money.
Fun money. Love fun money.
Yeah, that's usually my takeaway money.
Yes,
but
love
yeah,
that.
and that's definitely helped me not spend my bill money for sure. One of the other things that I wanted to ask you about, that when I kind of left home, one of the things that my dad said to me was, get yourself a credit card because there's such a thing as good debt.
Right.
I never have, because I've actually been too scared to get a credit card, just because I do not like the idea of kind of taking money that I haven't got. So I don't know if you have you can explain the benefits of credit cards or things just to be wary of if you are getting out credit cards.
Credit cards are really interesting because they can be so great, but then also be so bad, like as in such a burden if it dips into the point where you've got lots of bad debt. So what you mentioned there was good debt. So there's such thing as good debt and bad debt. Good debt is when you've got debts that make you money. So you've got something like, for example, you take out a mortgage on a second home that you then rent out, and then that rent covers your mortgage and then puts money back into your pocket. So you're actually getting paid to have that second property. That's good debt. Bad debt is where you've got high interest debt that it actually costs you money to have it. So just to have that money, just to borrow that money, every single month you have to pay interest, which is basically like your fee to borrow that money. So there's good debt and there's bad debt. Credit cards are kind of like a little bit of a hybrid. So what can happen with credit cards is you can rack up bad debt on them by spending on your credit card, and then you have credit card debt, which you then have to pay interest on every single month, and it costs you money. So it's sort of bad debt. However, if you've got systems set up in your finances and you know exactly what's what, like we talked about already, if you know your numbers, you know what's coming in, you know what's going out, you've separated your money up into different pots, you can actually use credit cards to rack up points that can then give you rewards. So for example, you can get credit cards, and say you've got like one big expense every month. So say you've got something like, I'm trying to think of something you could just put on your credit card. Say you always do your food shopping on your credit card, for example, right? And you've split your money out, you know, you've got your budget sorted, and you're like, right, I've got £300 for food each month. Maybe if you're a family, I don't know, 300 is probably a lot for one person. I'm not sure. I don't know. I have 3 kids, so this is all like, it's all based around what we do. So you're deciding, like, I'm going to put that one expense on my credit card every single month. So you know you're going to spend that money anyway. So one designated expense, and every time you go into the supermarket using your credit card. Now, every time you spend on that credit card, you're getting points, which means then, hooray, you can swap them for things like flights, rewards, hotel points, things like that. The only problem with this is you have to be incredibly organized to make sure you're not just, so it's really easy to then go, oh, I haven't got my debit card on me, I'll just pop it on my credit card. And it can quite quickly slip into a point where you're trying to use it to get rewards, and then suddenly you're putting it on your credit card because you just forgot, and now you've got bad debt accruing, and now you're having to pay interest and blah, blah, blah. So it's a little bit of a dicey area. And I would suggest that if you're trying to get into your, sort your finances out, you're trying to move forward, you want to really make steps in your finances this year, I would say don't start there. Get your foundation set first, and then if credit cards can be an addition to that, brilliant. But like, that's probably not the place to start.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's always good to kind of just have these conversations, because you never know what will work for one person doesn't always work for the other. So it's always good to have kind of different opinions. Now, as I said, a lot of people call up Hopeline UK saying that kind of anxiety around money or money worries kind of contribute to their thoughts of suicide. Obviously, it's really good that they've reached out to us to start that conversation, but that conversation can be really hard for people around kind of money. I don't know if you know any reasons why money can be quite anxiety for people, and maybe any points of how to start that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to say, like, that takes incredible bravery to do that, doesn't it? And you know that you've probably witnessed that firsthand. It's like it is really the right thing to do. If you are really stressed out with money and you just don't know where to turn, like, reaching out for help is the best thing to do. And there's always help available. I know you guys have said, we've talked before about there's always options, there's always something that can be done, and there's always someone you can be put in touch with that can help. There's organizations that help. So reaching out is a really, really good thing to do. So anyone that does that, I just applaud, because I think it's fantastic. I would say that money stress can build up, and I recently found out that there's like 5 main reasons, I try and remember off the top of my head, of why we still struggle to open up about our money worries. And they were quite varied. They're things like shame, thinking that you should be further along than you are in your finances right now. It might be that in your family you just never talk about money. It's just not the done thing, so you just don't do that. There was 2 others, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Things, it's very similar stuff. It's some internal blockers that make you go like, oh, I feel like I'll look silly. Oh, the other one was interesting, not wanting to burden other people. So you might find that some people, they've got enough going on and they feel like everyone around them's got enough going on. They don't want to then open up about their problems to somebody who's already struggling, because, you know, that you just don't want to be a burden. So that's where things like Papyrus and other charities are so brilliant, because it gives you that third party. It gives you someone else to go to that's completely, you know, they're not biased, they don't know your situation, and it's, you know, it's their job really to show up and help you. So they've set that time aside for you to be able to talk and offload. So that's why what you're doing is so wonderful, I think.
Oh, amazing, thank you. Yeah, it is. I feel like money isn't something that we're kind of taught to talk about, so not a lot of people feel like they can. I'm actually extremely lucky, and my friends will tell me if they haven't got enough money to do an activity, so that I feel quite comfortable to do it back. So it just takes one person to open up that conversation, and you're like, oh, I can talk about that too. So if we all just talked a little bit more about money, it might actually kind of, a bit like more like talking about suicide, it really makes them conversations a little bit easier.
Yes, yeah.
One of the reasons, I was going to ask you this at the beginning and I completely forgot, but I was actually really interested in why you decided to kind of become a certified financial instructor. Like, what kind of motivated you to support other people in talking about money and sorting out their finances?
Well, funnily enough, it was actually a bit of an accident, because I didn't accidentally do it. Like, it was sort of an accident. I'll explain. Right, what happened was I did a maths degree. I did maths and Spanish at uni, which is a bit of a random combination, but love it. And I, you know, had various jobs, and then me and my husband got together, and we had kids, and we got to a point in our lives where we're both well educated. He had a good job, had kids at home, so I was sort of doing bits of side hustles and stuff. I couldn't work loads. We have 3 very small children. And we got to a point where I was just like, I honestly thought that we'd be in a different situation than we were. We're well educated, good jobs, or like, you know, sort of okay jobs in terms of financially. And it's like we hit this ceiling where we were living paycheck to paycheck, struggling for money, not like terribly, but we were, you know, we just didn't have many choices and options. And it felt like our hands were tied quite a bit. And I just kind of was like, how is it that we're here? Like, how, I feel like we've done all the right things. I feel like, you know, we'd even like bought a home at that point. It was like, but we still were so stuck. And it was that paycheck to paycheck cycle. It was just so frustrating. It's like we didn't have savings. We were like, what? Like, we've got 3 kids now. Come on, we should be doing better than this. And I picked up a couple of books on financial literacy, and it was like this light bulb went on in my head, and I realized, do you know what? Yes, I've been educated, but I've not been financially educated. And when you understand a few principles about financial literacy, it's like the whole world opens up. It's like, I know exactly what to do when money comes in. I know exactly what to do with it. I know how to make money grow. I know how to use money, to my savings, to invest them, to grow them for the future. I know how to create different streams of income now, so that I'm not just relying on one stream of income. If I want to go for something, if we want to go for something as a family, we've learned how to set things up to try and go in that direction and make that happen. So it just feels like we've gone from being totally stuck to the world's our oyster, and it felt amazing, and it basically changed my life. So I started sharing about it on TikTok, and I was just kind of, it's just something that I knew about, and it kind of took off from there. People sort of resonated with that story of like, yeah, I've got education, yeah, I've got a good job, and I'm still stuck, like this is not okay. And so I started to just talk to people about that, and kind of just hear their stories and hear their side of things. And I just thought, oh, I feel like this is what I'm meant to be doing with my life. I love this. I love to see people unlock their potential and go for the things they want to do and know how to do that. And it's just that thing of like people feeling empowered and just reducing their money stress, because money is so stressful when it's not working. It is like, it's horrible. It makes you feel so stressed. You can lose sleep over it, wake up in the morning at 4 a.m. thinking about it. You know, you're dreading that, you know, end of the month where there's nothing left. And I just don't think it has to be like that. I think, you know, in some cases, you know, there's situations and circumstances that are outside of our control, but often there are things we can do to change things. And that's what I want to help people with.
Oh no, that's absolutely amazing. I think it's great for, like, personally for me to hear that obviously you haven't had your finances sorted and perfect for the whole of your life, and that it has been a journey for you, and that it's not kind of too late for anybody to start thinking about their finances. So that's great for me to hear, and probably for a lot of our young people, because sometimes it can feel like it's never ending and that you're never going to have control of it. Yeah. But it sounds like you've managed to get control, so it's great to hear from your experiences of how you've kind of changed your finances. One of the things that I always think about when wanting to be in control of my finances is I am looking at getting a house. I'm kind of definitely on the kind of house market, and I know that when I have a house I will need like funds for things going wrong. So where would you start with like an emergency fund and making sure that you have enough to pay if the roof goes or the boiler goes? Because obviously that can be quite a worry for a lot of people.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that you're thinking like this, you little legend. It's like, it's so good. Like, just getting that sort of stuff done. It's like, it's not very glamorous, it's not very sexy, it's not like buying a Ferrari. It's like the nuts and bolts of everyday life that we've got to do. But I tell you, when you get an emergency fund, for me that has been one of the biggest ways of reducing stress that I've, like, in my money, in terms of things that have reduced my money stress. Having an emergency fund is one of the biggest ones, and was the least glamorous and sexy to organize. So just bear that in mind. So I would say the first place to start with an emergency fund is just to calculate how much you need, because if you go like, if you're vague with money, right, if you're like, oh, I think I should probably just save some for like my boiler, it's really unlikely you'll do it, because you don't have a target, you don't have a goal you can tick off and celebrate. It's kind of like, yeah, I will, maybe I will. But then it comes to like that point of putting the money in, and you go like, or I could buy a curry, like which one? So it's easier to make the right decision for what you need and for your future if you know exactly what you're doing and how much it should be. So calculating your emergency fund, you want to try and calculate 3 to 6 months worth of living costs. So everything that costs you to live each month. So not all the fun stuff, not all the, you know, going out for drinks, just like your bills, your food, what you need just to live in a month. Those 3 to 6 months. I started with 3 months because 6 just felt too scary. I was like, that's going to take too long. And the other thing you can do is, once you've got that number, you can start to siphon it off and automate it every month. So you can go, right, I'm going to do, okay, like £100 a month. That's all I can manage right now. I'm going to put that into my emergency fund and automate it. So I don't think about it. So you don't want it to be an emotional decision every month, because if you're waiting for your emotions to go, yeah, this is a great idea, it might not happen. So you can automate that, make sure that's happening. The other thing that you could do, which is what we did, because saving that money might be too tricky right now, it's like, where am I going to find that extra money? Is you can find creative ways to increase your income, that kind of, all that money that comes in, just put it into that pot. So you know that all that income, it just goes into your emergency fund. So what we did is we rented out a room of our house for a while. I was doing little bits of tutoring. We sold stuff around the house, and instead of spending it, we just put it into our emergency fund. And like I say, like, it takes a while. It's not very glamorous, but once you get it done, it feels incredible, because you just know, you know, if something happens, I've got a backup.
No, that's great, and I absolutely love that you kind of rented out a room and kind of sold things. I think people forget that you might have a few items in the back that you could, or a few clothes that you can maybe sell, or definitely all have some hobbies that we could maybe make a bit of money from. So that's kind of a great point, that you can maybe find money if you kind of look further afield.
Yeah, I think like we are quite scared of hustle culture, which is fine. Like, I don't think everyone should be working 25 jobs and miserable. Like, you don't want that. But at the same time, there are little, like, I feel like creative income is something I talk about a lot, but I don't hear loads of people talking about it in that way. It's like, it's those little things here and there that can just top you up. That's not going to be your long-term goal. You're not going to do it forever. And things like tutoring are great for this. Like, whether you could do like a little cleaning job on the side, or babysitting, or I don't know, little bits and pieces. I've done all kinds of things over the years, and it's not like my goal or my dream in life. It's just that little top up that is quite low, kind of, it's not going to cost me much in terms of time and energy. It's just a few hours a week, but it can make a massive difference. So yeah, I really recommend exploring those ideas, and just seeing, like, lots of other people have started little side hustles that then turn into massive businesses. I've got friends that have done that, and it's just been just really helpful. So yeah, creative income, I love.
Yeah, I'm always trying to think of new ways I can use my talents, like creative talents, to make more money.
Right.
However, I then usually go and spend all that money on online shopping. And I know that you talked a little bit about this in the podcast that you did with Lauren just before Christmas. What would you say to people that maybe do a lot of online shopping? Is there any dangers? I know that you kind of spoke about the kind of buy now, pay later. So I don't know if you just want to kind of explain a bit about online shopping and just making sure that you're being sensible.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that online shopping is brilliant for is getting a bargain. So you can, I just posted a video about booking holidays, and how you can use like Skyscanner and Hopper and these great websites that you can just like get absolute bargains on flights. It's so good for stuff like that. The danger is, and this is where I think, you can slip into a more negative space in your finances, is where you kind of almost accidentally fall into debt. Like, you didn't mean to, you weren't intending. It's not like you went out one day and go, oh, I think I'm going to take on £5,000 worth of debt. But it can just creep in. And one of the ways I see this happening is with buy now, pay later options online. And one of the things that bugs me about it is it looks so cool. It looks really trendy. So the buttons and the like branding and the fonts and the colors and everything, it doesn't say any, like, it doesn't speak any kind of caution or like, think about this before you do it. It makes you go, oh man, I can get it now. This is awesome. It's only going to cost me £1.50 a month. Like, yes, I'm in. And it's great. You feel like, oh, brilliant. That's going to be so good. The trouble is, you do that a few times over, and suddenly you've got this expense going out every month to pay it back that you just didn't account for, and you didn't top up. And that can be the thing that can just tip you over into a place where you're now constantly in the red, and you're constantly in your overdraft. You're constantly having to put stuff on the credit card because of these little things that tot up over time. And so in my mind, I think in terms of like, the stuff you're doing, reasons that people might come to you, I think this is a real area of concern that I'm seeing, is especially for young people. It's way too easy for them to get themselves into debt without the regulation, I think, that needs to be there. And I think that could be a danger. So just with, like, in answer to your question with the online shopping, I think it's really noble and a wonderful thing to say, how can I afford this, rather than I'm going to buy it now. And there's a few things I think that I've spoken about once on our podcast, which was about stopping before you buy. So you can do I need this today? Like, could I wait a day and buy it tomorrow? And just having that moment of pause, so you're not impulse buying. If I buy it today, or if I buy it tomorrow, am I going to regret that purchase? Like, thinking about that. And also then just thinking about, like, how could I afford it? Like, how could I plan to buy this in the future if I really want it, if it's something you want? And I think just having that sort of like mental process around your buying online can really help you, just stop you from falling into those traps. And like, my husband tells a story where he remembers, like, we're old, okay, so when the iPhone came out, it was like a really big deal, and he was like, he's such a techie, so he was so excited, and he loves Apple products, and he was like, I really want an iPhone. And he just decided, he made the decision, he's quite young, and he just made a decision, like, I'm not going to buy it, I'm going to save and buy it. And he got a secondhand one on eBay, and he said like it took him like 3 months, it wasn't very long. And he the day that he bought it, he just felt so good, because he's like, I know I could have put that on a credit card and I didn't. I saved up and I bought it, and now it's mine, and it's completely mine. I don't have to pay it back. And it was a really good feeling. So in terms of like those endorphins and the hit of like satisfaction, like that comes into our finances a lot. And I think setting up habits and behaviors that produce those happy hormones, like happy, not hormones, happy endorphins, are they hormones? I don't know. Maybe that rush of kind of like satisfaction, and we can set things up for that rather than the other way around.
Yeah, no, and I really like kind of your points of what you maybe might think about before you go shopping, because I feel like I actually do that when I go shopping in person.
Right.
Like, something up, and I'll then probably put it back 5 minutes later, or I might go to a few other shops, see if there's something else, and I most likely won't get anything because that thought process goes through my head. But when you're online shopping, as you were saying, it's so easy just to click that button and then it's at your house the next day. So it's kind of them questions I think would help, well, me personally and a lot of us, to actually go, do we need this? If we do, great, but can I afford it? So no, that's great. That's pretty much most of my questions. The only question, I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to add today. Just before we leave, I just want you to kind of say one thing that you would want people to take away today. Just one point, just to kind of get involved with their finances. What one thing would you say to people?
I think just find people that inspire you. Like, doing your finances and managing it doesn't need to be boring. It doesn't need to be this heavy, like, boring activity that's like, got to do this. Like, one of the best things that's changed things for me is I've found these incredible people that have done incredible things, and I just think I just want to be like you. I want to do that. I don't want to do something like that. And I think who you're around really influences you. So I think just find those influences that are positive, and that will help inspire you and keep you motivated along the way. And I think again, just to say, like, Papyrus is amazing, and what you are all doing there is incredible. And I think I just encourage anyone who's watching now, or has somebody in mind that they're thinking, oh, I think I need to connect them with Papyrus. I think I do encourage people to follow you, to check in with what you're doing, but also just be aware of what you do and how to get in touch if somebody needs that kind of support.
No, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'd just like to kind of reiterate what you've just said. If you are struggling with thoughts of suicide, and it may be that it is money worries that are contributing to that, or anything else, please contact Hopeline UK on 0800 068 4141. We are here to support you. But no, I've absolutely loved speaking to you today, Anna. Obviously, I know that we haven't spoken to before, but I am definitely kind of watching all your TikToks and kind of taking them on board. I've definitely got them pots in my kind of in pots. Pots, and I'm definitely working on my mortgage, and I'm working on getting emergency funds. So just thank you so much for kind of making finance interesting again, because I was certainly bored. I just find it very boring.
Yeah, it can be so dull. We don't need that. We don't need that. So great to speak to you, Rachel, and congrats on your first live as well. This is a good moment.
We could definitely, I could improve on it. I don't know what the screen's doing, but just thank you so much for everyone that's joined, and hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Great, we'd love to. Ciao, see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.